Anybody spend a lot of time and energy worrying? One of the things that we can notice first off about it is that um, we don't worry about things that happened in the past. They've already happened one way or the other. We might have liked it, not liked it, but we don't worry about it. We may revisit it, wished it turned out different, but we don't worry about it. We also don't worry about the present moment. It's not possible. It's too quick, right? Any worry is a thought about what might happen, and the present moment is what is happening. So it's just not applicable to the present moment. So we can easily see that any worry is about the future, always. And there's a sense of what might happen, We can see that it's all based on imagination because we're talking about the future. We don't know how it's going to turn out. We can look to our past and see that all the times that we thought we knew where our life was going didn't turn out exactly that way. Maybe life didn't turn out like we thought it would when we were, I don't know, say 18. Some aspects to a certain degree, but never actually as we hoped or feared. So we can see that we're dealing within the realm of imagination. Byron Katie had a good quote about this. She said that reality is never as bad as the stories we tell ourselves about it. In other words, we suffer unnecessarily. We suffer because of our fear about what might happen. Doing what we can and then relaxing about it saves ourselves all that mental and life energy that's expended, squandered really, on worrying about something that never happens. Wasting that energy and being, in a sense, depleted when we're actually called upon to respond to some critical event, let's say. We get to live life in the meantime, right? We get to use that life energy that over the course of our time here on the planet is limited. And we get to live life rather than worrying about something that may or may not happen in the future. And then when something does happen that requires our full presence, then we have the energy to deal with it. We haven't depleted that by exhausting ourselves. So what we're talking about here has everything to do with how we view life, right? Whether we view it as trustworthy, sort of benevolent, or whether we view it as somehow hostile, view it as something like, well, life's out to get me or punish me. So it's interesting to explore if we do hold some distrust about life, to explore what that's based on. So I think for a lot of people, there is an expectation that life works like I think it should work. In other words, people that are behaving as I think they should behave, they should be rewarded and immediately, right? And people that aren't behaving as I think they should be punished and immediately, right? It should work like that. It should be an instant karma. We could get confused if we see that bad people aren't immediately punished or good people aren't immediately rewarded. We can imagine, well, God's not doing her job here. She needs to take charge, be in control of the situation, not let these people get away with it. We can sort of divvy up divinity and say, well, God's, a loving presence and responsible for all the good things that happens. And then we have to create some other quasi-divine being, the Antichrist or some such, to account for all of the unpleasant things that happen in the world. So we try to justify life or put it into some perspective based on how we feel life should work. And the problem when it doesn't work like that, when, bad people, somebody that's, hurt other people, goes unpunished, or somebody that is, it appears to be doing just wonderful work for the sake of humanity, really awful happens to them. We can't make sense of that in our mind. Come to a point where we're distrustful of life or distrustful of God. If this is how God is, then how can I believe in a benevolent God? We don't really know the deeper story. We don't ever know all of the conditions that led up to any circumstance. We may think we know some of the broad strokes, but we don't actually know everything that contributed to whatever happened, good or bad. We also don't know whatever unresolved energies from prior existences, prior to this lifetime, might still need to be resolved, and how that might look in this lifetime. I mean, you look back just in, the history of humanity, just on this one planet, just as far back as our recorded history can go. And we can see unimaginable brutality, unimaginable evil done in the name of, religion or power or greed or wealth or whatever, done to other humans. That energy, if there's a sense of karmic resolution of energies, needs to be resolved at some point. And so when we or someone else suffers for no apparent reason in this lifetime, in the absence of knowing, we might recognize at least the possibility that there may have been events in the past that need resolution energetically. Whether that's actually true is conjecture, but it seems like even though there's not a self entity living this life, so there's not like an individual separate self jumping, hopscotching from this lifetime to the next, there is an energetic imprint that's been released into the environment, let's say, into the universe that needs resolution on some karmic or energetic level. So we can view it in that way, not knowing the full story. We could perhaps also see it from the level of source, knowing that we are deathless. The source isn't limited by feeling bad about death. If source is the infinite waking up through you, then there's no limits to that. There's no limits to that understanding. Any imposed limits created by the human mind about how things should work, how things should be fair, don't apply. What is at stake is understanding what's really, truly living this life is not subject to birth and death. The body, yes, of course. But what we truly are is that which is present for all of that.